Hello, welcome back to Tea with the Queens. I'm so excited. We have an awesome individual with us today, all the way from London, Gill Brabner. And I'm so excited to talk to her and to meet her and to know all about her. And here is Tea with the Queens, where we talk about transformation, empowerment, and achievement. So we want to just be able to pour into you all and to share our experiences with you all and to share our knowledge. So I'm going to, without further ado, bring up Miss Gill and let her explain who she is, what she does, and how we can benefit from her. Hold on one second.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. What an amazing introduction. So
Thank
thank you so much. And I'm really thrilled to be here.
Thank you so much for giving us a chance to interview you on Tea with the Queens and you share with us. And like I said, I was so excited about meeting you. And one of the reasons why I was excited about meeting you is because when someone is, when they give you an opportunity, that's a blessing to me. And that was the blessing to me, is that you gave me an opportunity to interview you. And I want to make sure that with all you have to offer, all you have to say, we get it all in, and we just kind of, we want to drain you dry before you leave this place. Just give you that opportunity to share with us. So, can you let us know a little bit about who Miss Gill? It's the G. That's what it
Yeah,
is.
I
Miss
know.
Gill. Who Miss Gill is?
Okay. Who am I? Well, what that's a deep question to start us off, isn't it? So in my professional life, I'm a learning and development expert with a particular specialist knowledge about designing and delivering immersive learning. And for that, I have a forum theatre team. So that's a team of professional actors. And together we create scenarios about workplace issues. So my company, which I set up 20 years ago this year, so we're celebrating our 20th anniversary in October, we provide learning and development into businesses and organisations, primarily around leadership and management topics, and also the really important everyday conversations which can just go terribly wrong when people don't stop to think about how they're doing it.
Right.
And for that, all the behaviours, our team of actors are just brilliant at presenting these real workplace stories to bring those issues alive. So how that works is that an organisation will come to us and say, we really need to be looking at the quality of our face-to-face customer service, and we want to run a programme to improve that. So we would then do some research in that organisation or business to find out what was going on, so a bit like a mystery shopper exercise. We'd talk to people and we'd collect lots of stories, lots of information. And from that, we would create 2 or 3 different scenarios. And once the client signed them off, then we run these workshops where there's a team of 3 actors and myself, usually, sometimes 4 actors. And we go in and we set up our scenario. We work with about 30 people at a time. And we play out the scene all the way through. And then we invite the audience to interview the characters. So they can, if they ask the right questions, they find out a bit more information about what's really going on. So if they ask sort of really open, insightful questions, they'll get more information. But if they ask a sort of closed question, or if they make assumptions, they're going to find themselves in a bit of a cul-de-sac. They won't be able to get the information they need. So that's quite a good learning exercise in itself. And then when we've sort of played around with that and people have fed back what they think is going on, and then we will redirect the scenario. So we stop and start it. So I invite the audience to just say stop and stop the action as soon as they see something going wrong, and they can then hone in on the really small details which make a big difference. So it could be just a look that one of the characters gives another character. It could be the way they walk into the room, or that offhand tone of voice that they use, anything like that. And then they can say, no, you need to do it this way, or no, you need to do it differently. And then you get different parts of the audience wanting different things, and we try a range of options that the audience have suggested. And the actors are brilliant at improvisation, so they will improvise the next scenario. So we show the problem, we show the things that we know are going wrong, and then we work with our delegates, our learners, to create the solution to that. And they've always got the solution. They've always got the answers. They know what needs to be done.
So that's so remarkable, because a lot of times when you think about theater, it's always set in stone what they're going to do. But like you say, they improvise according to the audience and what the audience may say, and they know professionally just how to just maneuver into that next scene without even having it written out. But they just know, take that advice, and they impromptu just know, go to the next, to the positive thing. That is so cool.
And the actors also, they sort of push back a little bit in character, which is a lot of fun. So you'll have for example, we've got this character that's a manager that's very stressed. He's just not really good at the empathy. He's like, well, no, I haven't got time to be sitting down asking you how you are. I just want you to do your job and get on with it. And, and things go very wrong. And so somebody will say to him, well, the way he spoke to so-and-so. And then that character, the actor playing that character will say, well, hold on a minute. Have you got any idea of just how much, work I've got to get through today? And then the audience are like, oh, he answered back to me, So it gets quite playful and fun, but there's a really serious underlying message around how we treat people, how we manage people, in order for everyone to be able to give their best, which is important for the individual, the team, the business. So we do some sort of customer service type training, but we also tackle the really difficult stuff. So bullying and harassment, racism, sexual harassment, we've done all the difficult topics over the years. Which, if they emerge in organizations, they need addressing. So,
and the thing is that, like you say, it's very important, to look at the seriousness of it. I was looking at, it was something on social media, I think last week. It was a clip from Burger King from years ago. And it was sort of like what you were saying, like a theater type of thing, but it was like at Burger King, and different customers coming in. Not only were the customers rude, but the workers were rude. It was this whole thing, and it was probably like in the 70s when I saw, there was the scene when it was done. But it was so true. They said that was part of their training video for new employees to come in when they would look at that. They didn't really show anything other than the rudeness. It wasn't enough time. I think it was just a reel. But the fact that they had that kind of scenario years ago for working in that environment. The thing is that more often I see in that type of environment, the lack of patience, the lack of customer service, just not. It seems like they're just not wanting to be there, and so it spills over into the customer. And then, like you say, and they just kind of butt heads, and it's just not a pretty scene. So it's important that if you're going to do a job, you have to show up, and you have to deliver. You have to deliver yourself to the customer, and not only, like you say, the workplace.
Yeah.
I've heard, I don't know how many times people have said, I love my job. It's just the people I work with. and that's because it's a stressed environment, toxic environment. The job is not the job could be a beautiful thing. I've had positions where I love what I do. But to deal with people, sometimes I'm like, is it really worth it? So that is so important to understand. And that's why what you were saying as far as leadership, and especially now with, a lot of individuals looking at doing even coaching in that area of leadership,
Mm,
executive
mm.
leadership, then they would, look at you. You are a prime example after 20 years of doing this, of what it would take to really go to an organization and present a strong coaching program that will help the employees and the employer to have a better relationship with themselves, with amongst each other, and also with the customers. So that is very good, and I think that was what I would call executive leadership coaching.
Yeah,
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 in a sense.
yeah. So we've done lots of different leadership programs at different levels, um, and the where I think the most important work is actually is the first time manager. So the person that's just been promoted into that team leader role or supervisor or management role, um, who hasn't had to manage a team before.
Yeah.
And it's so important that we support those people into those roles with some high quality learning and development or training. Last year in the UK, there was some research done by a body called the Chartered Management Institute. And they said that in the UK, 80% of new managers have not had any training at all. And they called them accidental managers. And basically, they're people that have gone into that role because there's no one else to do it, or because they're the most popular person in the team, or because they were really good at their current role, which hasn't got anything to do with managing people, and so they promote them into the team leader role. But in most cases, without the support and the training and the development, um, and it's just not fair, is it? It's so
No, it's
unfair
not.
on that new manager. It's so unfair on the team they're managing because they've got somebody totally inexperienced who's going to be, needing to focus on lots of things.
Yes.
So yeah, I think for me that's such an important group for us to really develop
And that's
initially.
one of those areas where a lot of times you don't even consider when someone is doing a leadership position, or even thrust into it, from another position because there's nobody else. We don't even consider the fact, the skills in order to be able to
Yeah,
relate to that position, to be
yeah,
able to relate to your team, the teamwork that has to take place. And a lot of times, and I've seen this as well, and I know you've seen everything, but with this, but what I've seen is that people will get in those positions that do not have those skills, and then they wonder why people are leaving, or why there's such a turnover rate, because of the employee morale, the relationship between the manager and the employee. But a lot of times it's the immediate
yeah,
manager, or the two top layers, and then the ones that's high up, they don't really understand that these two, or that's this
mm,
particular individual is causing havoc to the employees, and they feel like, okay, I don't want to stay because it's a terrible working environment, the morale is low, it's toxic, all of those different things.
yeah,
So it's very important that that top management, well, the step up manager, the one
yeah,
from employee to management, and
yeah,
maybe even a step above that, will understand how important it is to have those skills.
yeah, yeah,
And sometimes when they come into those positions, they've been there for a while. So not only are they in that position, but they've got peers that they used to work with,
mm,
colleagues, the same level. Now you're
yeah,
managing them.
yeah,
So this whole attitude and this I'm in charge type of thing comes about. And
yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah,
a very toxic
yeah,
environment.
yeah. And our leaders, our team leaders, our managers, they create the culture, don't
Yeah,
they create the team culture.
they do.
So the senior leadership might be saying one thing, but they really need to be looking at what's happening at the team level.
And it
um,
makes me so angry when they know. I mean, if you have good staff and all of a sudden they start to leave, or you can't keep good staff, protocol, go and find out what the manager is doing, or how they're running things. Listen
yeah,
to the employees, find out is everything okay. But I don't know why it seems like it's like pulling teeth to get them to act in that order. It doesn't
Yeah,
happen often.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's true, and you know, it's that's why exit interviews are so important for somebody other than the manager to sit down with that person and have a chat and say, okay, tell me why, you know, really, why are you leaving? And what could we do better here for the rest of the team to
Yes.
create a better workplace environment? So, yeah,
Yeah.
it's also important. And often team leaders and managers that, you know, they have technical skills, which are very important, but they don't necessarily have the people management skills,
Right.
or they're modeling themselves on one of their managers, and there's nothing to say that that is particularly helpful or going to be a positive experience for the people in their team.
Right.
So yeah, that's why I think the people management skills and the types of conversations that you have um, are so important. And often companies will come to us and say, you know, we need you to do something on motivation. You know, we need our staff to be more motivated or better motivated. And I always come back to the fact that we have to create the environment in which people become motivated. It's very difficult to have an effective external motivator that's lasting. You know, obviously there's pay and there's, you know, other sort of benefits, but how you feel, whether you feel valued or not, is crucial to whether people are going to show up and be motivated.
Yeah.
So we have to create the environment in which people can give of their best.
Yes. And that's another thing too that you have to recognize is that if you want the best out of the employee, you know, give them an opportunity by creating that, like you said, that calm environment, because there's so much there's so much talent and so many skills that they possess. A lot of times that's why you hired them. So
Yeah,
give
hopefully.
them the
Yeah,
platform so that they can
yeah,
thrive, you know. And
yeah,
you never know that they may be the reason why your team looks great, or, you know, make you look good. But
yeah,
you know, you
yeah.
have, I mean, if you have, I remember when I had to be like 18 and I was working for a company. It was just, I know, we 18, you just want some quick money. But anyway, it was like a packing company. So we, on our first day we were there, we were packing items to be shipped out. But the supervisor was so mean that
Mm.
halfway through the shift, I quit and I just sat in the break room until my ride was ready to go. So when
Oh,
she came to the break room, she said, "Oh, you don't want to finish out your shift?" And then all of a sudden her tone changed. And I was like,
mm,
"No, I'm okay." But I'm like, had you had that tone when I was working, I would have
mm,
kept working, and uh, the products would have gotten out. Your production rate would have been probably a lot better than it was when we left. I don't know. But all I
yeah,
knew is that it was so uncomfortable to work under her that I had to, midway through that first day of my job, I had to just stop and just go in the break room because I just couldn't take it anymore.
right.
It was just I had never experienced that type of management.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the first day should be about, you know,
Yeah,
welcoming people and making
yeah.
them feel like part of the team and showing them the ropes. And
It was
yeah,
horrible.
oh my
So,
goodness.
and that's what I mean. Because of it being production, had she came with a different attitude and
Yeah,
was kind and said, "Hey, you know, we got this." It's like teamwork.
yeah.
You never know. Them production rates would have been high that day. They would have been like, "Oh my goodness, you know, look at this team. They're really moving." No,
Mm.
it was just like a, you know, whip and chain. And I was like, I can't do it. I
No,
just can't do it. I said, I don't care how much the money is. I said, no, that emotionally and mentally and even motivationally, I was just checked out. There was
yeah,
just no way. And I think that that's why a lot of times businesses, corporations, they will seek out individuals like yourself, your business coaches that will come in and help with the team. A lot of times people feel like as a coach, especially executive coaching, there's really not a platform or clientele for that, but it really is.
oh
And it
yeah,
happens more often than it
yeah,
should,
yeah,
you know, unfortunately.
yeah. Well, some of the conflict that happens at the team level is happening within the senior team.
Yeah.
quite often it gets mirrored. So, I've worked with senior leaders who have come to me to work through some of those conflict issues within the sort of director group, to just have the time and space to think about how they need to build better relationships, to really become a bit more self-aware around their impact on other people.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's important stuff.
So is your program a coaching program per se?
So we do have coaching programs. We also have our forum theatre workshops, which I mentioned, and we also offer leadership and coaching qualifications.
Okay.
So we support people to become qualified in those areas. And we've also developed a model to help individuals and managers have more compassionate conversations. So I became really interested in this idea of compassionate leadership and bringing compassion into the workplace. And that's partly because we do a lot of work in healthcare.
Okay.
But I was just fascinated by what it meant to be compassionate at work, and whether that was, whether we can be compassionate at work, whether it's a fit. And from all of the research that we did, we then developed a really simple model for people to use to really make sure that they have more effective conversations, which mean that people feel valued, they feel confident in what they're doing. So shall I talk you through that little model? Because I think that might be of interest for your audience, and it's
I'm gonna
just really
put
easy
that
to
in
use.
here. As you're talking, they can also be able to check out your websites and everything. So yes.
Fabulous. Okay, so the model is called ECA, and it simply stands for empathy, care, action.
Okay.
And if you put those three elements in your approach to the conversation, then the person you're talking to is going to feel valued. And by the way, it works really well with family as well as work colleagues. So if we start with empathy, so what we're looking at there is to build rapport and trust, and to do that quickly. And we do that by giving somebody our full attention. I mean, you'll know this, but it's just so powerful, really being present with somebody and giving them attention. And asking for and listening to their point of view on something, their perspective. Because it's all too easy to just tell somebody what we think, but the empathy piece requires us to ask for their perspective on something. So it could be, well, look, we've had this customer complaint come in, and I've read it, but I'm really interested in hearing your point of view about what happened. I want to understand your perspective. And then hearing them, and so you're feeling it from their side of the story, and it's important to be non-judgmental in that as well. Just allow that time for that story to emerge. And then in terms of the care element, we need to let people know that they're an important part of the team, that we care about everyone in the team. We also care about achieving the outcomes or objectives that we need to, because that's our contribution to the overall business. And we also want to know what they care about. So a great little question to ask your team members is, what matters to you? So you could have that customer service scenario. So you could say, okay, so what matters to you right now about that incident? What matters to you? And again, it's just valuing that other person, but never losing sight of, what we need to deliver on as a team and as a business. So we're not saying that's absolutely central to it. And then in terms of action, I found it fascinating that if you're being compassionate, there is always action. It's not enough to show empathy and care. You have to enable or empower that other person to take action, or if it's not within their gift, you need to take action on their behalf. So with our healthcare clients, for example, if if it's a conversation with a patient who's very unhappy about something, it might be that the person they're speaking to needs to rearrange the appointment or do something which the patient can't necessarily do themselves. So it's about taking the right action at the right time, and also celebrating the journey. Where have we come from? We're really quick to criticize and to find fault, and for managers, they're problem solving all the time. That's part of the role. But it's really powerful if we can just pause for a moment and think, okay, we're here, but where were we 3 months ago? Where were we 6 months ago? What's the progress made? What's what are the wins that we've achieved so far?
Right.
And take a moment to share that with everybody and say, look, okay, this is a bit difficult at the moment, but we've already achieved so much, so we can definitely get through this together. And it just needs us to do X, Y, and Z together, and to do it well, and we'll be through to the next stage. So empathy, so understanding their perspective, listening to that, letting them know that they're an important part of the team, but you're also, their performance level is important as well, because you all have to deliver. And then finding out what matters to them, and then making sure that you agree some actions.
Yes.
So it's you can see it's a great fit with coaching. It's a great little model just to embed within everyday conversations, because it's very positive and it has strong results. We've seen that. So yeah, I encourage people to give it a try.
I have a question too, like with the employee and the employer, depending on who you're talking to. Sometimes I guess the employee rather will be a little resistant because they feel do they have the liberty to really express themselves without risk losing their job or being reprimanded behind the scene. Is that something that you would consider like a mindset shift, or encouraging them to be able to be open enough to share?
So that's that really does come back to team culture, doesn't it? And whether there's been a history of a lot of blaming, and fault finding, and that's where you need a shift to saying, look, I want us to be open with each other. I want to improve the way that we work together. So I'm going to need your feedback on the things that aren't working for you and which we can improve. And, I can't promise that we're going to change everything overnight, but I'm going to listen, and I'm going to take the steps that I can take that's in line with our, whatever it is with the company, the policy, or or what needs to be achieved. But it's for the manager to open up that conversation. And it's tricky in environments where there's, as I said, there's been a lot of blaming, or people have felt left out. So there's some interesting research that's been done from the field of neuroscience on outliers. So the thinking here is that, all managers tend to have this inner circle of people that they go to, that they rely on, that they know are dependable. But then outside of that, there'll be other people in the team. And sometimes people are comfortable with being, outside of that inner circle. But we need to be mindful of them. We need to encourage them to come into the circle. We need to include them. It's very easy to, just focus on a small group of people that deliver for you. And then you've got this sort of group who are excluded.
Right.
And the group who feel excluded can be resentful and hostile, and so
it's very, very, very difficult.
yeah. And simply because they don't feel valued, because they don't feel included.
Right.
So very important to find ways to check in with those people and say, look, where, you know, some of us are going to have a chat. I'd really value your input, so please join this meeting. Or, you know, I'm just checking in to see how you're getting on. I noticed that you didn't participate in X, and I just want to know if you're okay. So there is something about noticing what's going on with your team. And so important now that, you know, a lot of people are working either remotely or in a hybrid arrangement where they're not in the office all the time or the workplace all the time.
And it's so important, because I would, encourage anyone that's listening now to this presentation, that they will understand that if they are in management, or if they have a organization and they have a solid team, really take heed to these skills in order to retain them, to retain that level of professionalism with them, that level of delivery and output, but also to create that environment where you all are flourishing together. So I would say, do not take this lightly and do not take it for granted, because we lose a lot of good people that would really be a benefit beyond your wildest imagination for your organization, if we would nurture them and we would make sure that the relationship is being nurtured and that we create an environment to flourish. That's how I see it.
Yeah.
I've always, you know, it's
That's
very
so positive. I love that. And I remember working in a healthcare organisation, and the managers were complaining about the healthcare assistants, and these were they were the entry point into the sort of clinical group. They didn't have qualifications. They were doing a lot of the basic personal care. So I said to them, well, you know, look at that group differently and identify for me a future nursing director, because that's the mindset we need. We need to be looking at that group and say, okay, what are their strengths, and who is the really talented person in here that we could imagine in a few years' time moving up in through the organization. Because, you know, I've met chief executives and nursing directors who started, in that sort of lowest grade role. And you could apply that to any industry and say, you know, that group of workers, whether it's on a construction site or, a sort of retail environment, and say, so look at that team, think about their strengths and identify for me the person who's going to be a senior manager in a few years' time, or who's got the potential, because that's really exciting.
Yeah.
You know,
And to see them
and it's
grow,
always
and
someone.
every now and again sneak them a little bit more responsibility, see how they act with it. And when you talked about the health field in CNA, and the lower, I don't want to say CNA, but whatever the lower positions are, it reminded me of an organization that I worked for, and at that time I was in management, and I had a team that were doing more of the bottom work, and I participated in that as well, because I'm sitting there and they're doing that. So if I'm not doing anything, why not help out? So my supervisor pulled me to the side one day and she said, well, you don't have to do that. That's their job. And I understood that. But I felt that, okay, with me participating and helping was not going to hurt the situation. It was just going to help. I didn't do it all the time, but I wanted to make sure that if I was available, that I did show that I know how to be a team player. Yeah. I knew my role, and they knew my role, but when I had the opportunity to help, I did. And when they told me that, I said, I could see myself just sitting there and not doing anything, and they're doing all the work, and I'm just sitting back like this. I just could not do that. And I could be wrong. I could be wrong, because I know you got to have boundaries. But I just couldn't do that. And I just believe that, we all get our hands dirty. Let's do what we got to do. And they didn't like that too much. They didn't like that too much. And I was like, well, maybe, I didn't know. I said, because she was in that position before me. So maybe I was showing her up because I was because
Yeah.
I don't know, but they weren't fond of the fact that I was doing, any of that particular kind of work.
Mm.
But the thing, and it was something that you said as well, that, how you treat them, maybe in the lower positions is very important, because that's when you have the biggest turnover,
Yeah.
because the risk is different. So if you don't
Yeah.
have the people to do the work, then you have to do the work. So not
Yeah.
only are you doing your work in a management role, now you have to do the work that your employee was once doing. So that's why a lot of times it backfires still. If you have to be conscious of that and careful, because eventually, if they have no, the risk level is different. They have nothing to lose. They're I'm just leaving. Then now you short of staff, you have to step in. You got to do more. You got to do more. Then you become a little more hostile, and then it affects
Mm.
other people that's there,
Mm.
and then
Yeah.
everybody's upset.
Yeah, and everyone's got so much more work to do
Yeah.
because somebody's walked out, and very often these people are in frontline roles.
Yeah.
So in a restaurant, they're the people that are serving your customers.
Right.
In a healthcare setting, they're people interacting with patients and family.
Yes.
In the call centers, they're talking directly to your customers. So yeah, it's so important to pay attention. What's going on there, isn't
Right.
it? So, uh, yeah,
Because nobody wants extra work if especially in management, because you have your own set of things to do, and when you got to actually do two roles,
mm.
then you're not going to be too happy.
Yeah,
But that's why this program. That's why when I saw your bio and I was reading it, and I looked to see what all you were doing, I was so excited because of the part of the theatrical part of the illustrations of what you do, but just the fact that a lot of times you don't really get to talk to someone who actually been in the trenches with this type of teaching and coaching. We hear about it, and we have those who are interested in even going in that direction, but now
mm.
they get to hear someone who's been doing that, who's got been in out there doing it, and veteran, just
Yeah, absolutely.
all of those things, and to
Yeah,
know that it is a need for that. It is a true opportunity to do that, and also to be able to learn how to do what you do as far as the role acting. And that's why when I saw the video from years ago, it was entertaining, but it was so true, and it was really hard to see, because at the same time, because this happens, but
yeah,
when you have everybody's upset, like the customer, the people serving them, everybody was just upset, and it was just, they might have been a little extreme, but they was setting the mood of
mm.
what really it could be like.
Yeah,
And so it's in a very it's what the word I'm looking for. It's a great opportunity for someone who always thought about executive leadership, executive coaching, really having an opportunity to go into organizations, to the big enterprises and things like that, to be able to create that atmosphere for those companies by training them in the way that they would benefit from, in order to have a peaceful workplace or a
yeah,
peaceful business, or even as a coach. You're bringing on people to support you as a coach. You want to know how to be able to retain those people. But
yeah,
just because you're giving them some money doesn't mean that they want to stick around if the connection is not there. And I will say this as well, coming from my experience as a coach, a speaker, author, all of those different things. When you have something that you're doing and you want someone like me to be a part, same thing on how you treat people, whether they want to come and participate or be a part of what you're doing. Because some things they charge, like if it's an anthology, for the book, most times you're going to pay to be a part of that. So
mm.
if the person who's over it, if their attitude is not right, or they're not supporting the people that's coming to be a part of this book, they can just say, hey, I don't, I'm okay, I don't want to do this. So
Yeah,
now you're still looking for people to be a part. You're still trying to build enough authors to get this together. So like you said, it can go, these teachings can go from the home to church, school, and to
Yeah.
businesses.
Yeah.
I just think that this is such a great lesson to be learned, and a great uh, I don't know, master class. This is the information that has been given is like that. It was very rich. It's very rich. And the thing I like about it too is that it was given to us in bite sizes. It wasn't like all at one time, this is what I do, bam, 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 bam. But it was like, it was illustrations of those things. And we was giving it bite size so you get the whole picture. But see, that's why you're, the theater expert. That's why you
stories are so good. We all need stories, don't
yeah.
we?
And
We all need
so
stories.
and that's the encouragement that I just wanted to give others. If you know someone who has done this and they have been successful and they have the know-hows, never be afraid to connect with them. If they have a program, seek out the program. If a mentorship, whatever the case may be, get with someone because you want what you're doing to grow. And if you don't know how to grow it, then you get with a seasoned individual so that they can support you in growing in the direction you need to go. So that and do you have a way for others to be able to participate if they're interested in your coaching program or your mentorship program?
Absolutely. So if people go to the website, which thank you for putting the link up, it's resoundtraining.co.uk, you'll see there's a link there to a leadership quiz. So it's called the Effective Leader Quiz, and you can take that quiz and it'll give you a really good indication of what your strengths are and areas that you might want to develop. And it's arranged under 3 categories. So it looks at team culture, it looks at developing the team, and it looks at your personal leadership style. And it'll only take you between 2 and 4 minutes to complete it. And then you'll get the results immediately. And so you can do that. That's a free tool. We have a YouTube channel with lots of videos on that you can use for your own learning. You could share them with a team. You could sit down and play one and talk to your team about it, because they're all work stories. They're all based on real work stories, and they're acted out by our team of professional actors. So the YouTube channel is Resound Training. We are also going to be putting on some free 90-minute webinars in September. And that's going to be around sort of different examples of conflict management. So that's with my actors, and it'll be 90 minutes online, and it'll be completely free. And if you've completed the team leader quiz, you'll automatically get invited to one of those. But you can also just get in touch, and I can send you an invitation. So there'd be some different time slots for those, so that we go across different time zones, because I'm in London and we're in the evening now here, and I know you're in the southern states. So yeah, we've got clients in Canada and all over the place. So we're offering different time slots to enable as many people to join us as possible, and it'll be a lot of fun, and we'll play out a scenario, and you can get involved with that. So different ways to see what we're doing and be part of it. And I'm really happy for anyone to reach out and ask questions. I love sharing what we've done, and if there's any way I can help people, please, you can get in touch with me via the website. It comes direct to me, and I will respond.
Okay, so I'll make sure that the website is out there, and I also will make sure if you want to send it to me before the webinars, I'll make sure that your flyer or whatever, I can make sure that information is also on my platform to participate in the webinars as well.
Fantastic. I hope you'll be joining us for one of them.
Oh yeah, I'm going to take the assessment. the assessments, and also too, and I make sure that I do an explanation, because I always do an explanation as well with your information about what it entails and everything, so that I make sure that I do that, and also with the webinar. So this will, yeah. So they'll be seeing you quite a bit on my platform, and we'll be able to participate. Like I said, I just want to thank you for today. Thank you for this time. I just feel like this was remarkable, and this is a subject that we don't talk about, because a lot of times people are going into solopreneur, they're entrepreneurs, they're just doing their thing. They never really think about the fact, not only that there are many who are still working and they're in organizations. That's number one. Number two, if you bring on a team, you want to know how to properly retain your team, motivate your team, and work with your team. And number three is that this is another opportunity for you to learn, again, learn from an expert on how to even develop your own program to deliver to some of the organizations that are out here that's needing this. So we learned a lot today. I was just intrigued, because I'm like, okay, but maybe I need to go in a different direction myself. But it's very enlightening. And
Good.
don't ever underestimate your goals and your desires, especially in this area. This area is still relevant, it's still needed, and I say pursue it. But always, 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 always say this. If you're a coach, always get you a coach or a mentor, because that goes a long way. We don't know everything, and there's always someone out there that knows more than you. And if you want to be able to make the strides you want to make, never be afraid of learning, never be afraid of connecting. We all got to grow. We don't know everything, but if one day we will reach our goals, then we will be able to in turn be that one that somebody comes to in order to learn what we do.
Oh, that's a wonderful message. That's such a wonderful message. Yeah.
So, any parting words or anything, last words you want to say to us, to pour into us, encourage us?
Oh, well, it's all about learning, isn't it?
Yeah.
And if you've got a passion for learning, you won't go far wrong, because it's there's always a way to solve a problem, learn something, improve. And I think particularly for people in business, you've gone into business because you're passionate about something, and there's that in itself is exciting. And if you can encourage others to tap into that, then that's a great thing. And you're certainly doing that, Millicent. You're absolutely.
Thank you.
That's
Thank you.
amazing. So,
And I'm so appreciative, because I'm yet learning and growing, but I have learned so much, and it's been great. It's just been great, and it's a
good.
beautiful thing to be in a position of learning, and it's a beautiful thing to be able to meet so many wonderful people who are empowering, and that is definitely what I felt from you today. And I don't know, and you said you was going to host me when I come to London. I am going to do that.
Oh yeah,
Coming, and I
definitely.
said I'm coming, and that's
Good.
that's it. And I am excited. I'm just
So
very.
am I. So am I.
This has been amazing, and it's a blessing, because you just never know how God works, and the connections He makes,
Yeah.
and it's a blessing. I prayed. I said, Lord, order my steps, and He has done that, and I'm grateful for that, and that's all I could say, because I'm like overwhelmed a little bit right now. That's really how much I've enjoyed this conversation, and I've
Thank
needed
you.
that conversation today.
Thank you.
I've needed this today.
Keep that energy. You've got amazing energy. So yeah, come to London and
Yes, I am.
we'll rock it. Yeah.
I'm excited, because I don't know anybody in London, but I know Miss Jill. But thank you so much for being with us today on Tea with the Queens. And this is definitely not the last time. Even if we got to jump back on about these webinars, we want to make sure that they are seen and that they are out there. And I know that I'm going to definitely do my part to make sure that my audience sees it. And we're going to go from there. So if we got to jump back on and do a live to do that, that's what we'll do.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay. All right. Take care.